If I had words to make a day for you, I'd sing you a morning, golden and new. I would make this day last for all time. Give you a night deep in moonshine. If I had words to make a day for you, I'd sing you a morning, golden and new. I'd make this day last for all time. Give you a night deep in moonshine. Welcome to Mirador Television. Break an egg.
Well, there we are. And we're having a bit of a problem because on my screen, we're all over jerky again. So I'm beginning to think that after I've blamed the British Telecom for all sorts of evils, that they are not guilty after all. So I'm going to watch, because checking off screen here, I can see that it's not jerky and so on. So I'm going to take the chance that everything is all right. Let's very quickly then see what we're going to talk about this morning, because we've got quite a full agenda before Paul Farrell joins us. I must have a little blow of the nose, and we can talk about Boris and the things that the economy and so on and so forth. I have a different view on the economy to Paul, and that's what democracy should be all about: is that we differ in our views. Now, I have to mention Boris because newspaper headlines are all about Dominic Cummings having a go in front of a select committee yesterday and saying that this lot are useless. And I've been saying that our local lot are useless. So I guess Cummings and I have something in common, but I hope that's all. Because he sounds to me like not a pleasant man, not somebody I'd want to invite home for dinner. But then who knows? I haven't met him, so why should I think that we should? The newspaper headlines this morning: Cummings rains fire with pure revenge. That's the BBC. The Daily Telegraph: Cummings takes his revenge as he lays blame on Johnson and Hancock. And basically the stories are that he's saying that thousands died unnecessarily, that there are all sorts of things that went wrong with the way that we handled the lockdown and the pandemic, that it could have been done differently if only they had listened to him, and that Matt Hancock was guilty of lying. Now, you have to be very careful because he's speaking under parliamentary privilege as he was before a select committee, which means he can say almost anything that he wants, but you have to be very careful about what you do say, because afterwards you may be held to account by the civil authorities. Oh, I see my shirt collar is up. That's because I came out in a hell of a hurry this morning. On the Daily Express, yes, mistakes were made, but this was pure revenge, they said. And the Financial Times has not departed from anybody. Cummings accuses Johnson of being unfit to lead the country. Well, that's okay. Many a prime minister before has been accused of that. Tens of thousands of people died who didn't need to die in The Guardian. Tens of thousands of people died who didn't need to die in The Eye. Well, they're associated, so that's what one wouldn't expect it. Domshell, says the Metro. And basically, what they've said is, oh boy, he was loaded for bear. He was ready to get his revenge, and he got his revenge. Tens of thousands of people died who didn't need to die, say the Daily Mirror. And then here we go, my lovely Daily Star. They got a picture as if it was drawn by a child of a donkey and a man, and basically it says, this lot really are useless, and it says, this mob don't have a Scooby. Meaning, I suppose in modern parlance, Scooby-Doo is a whole bunch of nonsense and having no idea about anything. So here we are with the newspaper headlines all having a go at dear old Boris. God bless him. Now, the things that we need to look at this morning. Let's first of all catch up on. And this morning the weather is going to be 17 degrees is the top, 8 is the bottom, and we've gone past the 8, and that was this morning, and it was still gorgeous. Sun almost all day. Well, it's starting to cloud over in the afternoon, it says, but it is going to be half decent, with a decent temperature, and the breeze gentle. And although it can cloud over, the chances of rain are virtually nil. It is going to be so there you are. Oh dear. It's slipped over. Oh, right. Right. We very quickly went to that, but it was our next on our running rundown, and Judith photographed Lewis from Susan Harris, who gets up very early in the morning, and she has a friend and enjoy Lewis, beautiful, historic, but also lived in. Well, there we are. A really good look at Lewis, a beautiful little town, a lovely little town. It's changed its character over the years that I've been here, and I'm sure it changed its character over the centuries. But Lewis goes back to the pre-conquest, goes back to the Saxons. So there was a Lewes, L-O-O-S, here in about 800. It's some suggestion that Alfred the Great was responsible for developing it as a marketing town. It's got a great history. So I can see that behind me we've got all sorts of things. We're trying to get the green screen going, and it's partly there. Our good friend Dan Bohack, who is a genius when it comes to IT, is coming in on Saturday, I think it is, and he's going to try and sort us all out so that we don't have these miserable problems that we're having at the moment. But now let's talk about local news, because I think that perhaps one of the most intriguing pieces of local news is that there was a robbery at Arundel Castle. Arundel not being too far along the coast in West Sussex, and a very key part of the history of the English Civil War involving Lewis. One of the interesting things about the castle was it alternately was held by the Roundheads, the Cromwellians, and the Royalists. And at one stage, when the Royalists were in charge, the Roundheads camped outside, and it was a very difficult castle to actually invade, and you had to lay siege for some time. But they did a very sensible thing: there was lots of food inside, but the water was dependent upon a lake, which is still there, just outside the castle walls. So they cut off the water. Days it took, instead of weeks and months, to get the surrender of the castle. But anyway, Arundel is owned and occupied, I may say, by the Duke of Norfolk, and it's a delightful castle. If you've never been, do go. It's very well preserved, all of it, right back to the 1066 part. And part of the reason that it's in the news is that some heirlooms were stolen, not intrinsically of much value, but of historical value, priceless. And one of them was a set of beads that was worn by Mary, Queen of Scots, when she went to be beheaded, because she was trying hard to get her sister's throne. Was it her sister? But anyway, Queen Elizabeth I had her beheaded reluctantly because she wouldn't leave well enough alone. She wanted the whole full Monty, and she was going after it. And her relationship with that castle goes back a long way. So what was the castle like? Let's have a look. So there we are. I'm supposed to be back with me now. There we are. Yes, and the intriguing thing is that it's supposed to be an inside job. Somebody pointed out where these valuables were kept, because it was only that part of the castle that was targeted, and all the security cameras were avoided. So it's a bit like the Italian job. Excuse me for a moment. There we are. Like the Italian job, they all knew where to go and what to do, and got away with the stuff. And although, as I say, that it's priceless in one way, It's not something that you can sell. You don't drive up to a jeweler's and say, "Hey, I got Mary Queen of Scots beads," because they are beads. There is nothing intrinsic in them at all. It was just a lady's fancy. So there we are, foul deeds down at the castle in Arundel. Arundel with a terrific history and very much associated with Lewis, and particularly through the English Civil War. Okay, where do we go to now? I actually started to get. I know where we're going next, because there's a lot to be been said about pubs and so on. Are they open? Will they be open? What are they like? And so on and so forth. And I went into a pub yesterday. Well, I've been to 2 or 3 actually, and I must say that they're not exactly overwhelmed with visitors. I thought they would be jam packed. In fact, yesterday I had I was with Stuart Dolby, our energy correspondent, and he and I were the only 2 in the pub, and we went in quite independently. He went in to eventually meet his wife, and I went in just to have a very quick nip. To see if it would make me feel better. It always does. So the pubs aren't being overwhelmingly swamped at the moment. But where pubs like? Let's take a look.
Flanked by the church, the rectory, and the people's homes, stands the inn. In its shade and beneath its roof, men of all degrees and of all opinions meet in comradeship and comfort. Walk through any English market town and you'll find the inn at the center of its life. On market day, the people from the country around meet there to discuss the trend of prices, their children's health and their home affairs. It's the same in the villages. When the sun warms the earth, they sit outside and watch the world go by. At the English inn today, there is a hospitality that to the host is just as much a sacred charge as it was to the monks and barons in the Middle Ages, who first gave bread and ale to travellers. Often the only sanctuary in out-of-the-way parts, the monasteries had a lodge open to pilgrims and other wayfarers. Later, these lodges became separate establishments and were eventually run as inns, under such signs as the Pilgrim's Inn. One example of monastic origin is the Bull, which gets its name from the papal bull, or bill, not the animal. These inns of England have seen history happen in their yards. Pilgrims and warriors have trodden their stairways. Here, medieval knights refreshed themselves on their journeys to the Crusades, to fight under the banner of St. George. The inns have preserved much of England's architecture. The early inn has preserved some of the finest carvings and treasures. Like the church, it was a sanctuary. Hence, most of these carvings have a religious meaning.
There it is. That this was the beginning of the pubs, and next week we're going to show you the second part of that, bringing it up to, I say, relatively modern day, probably just shortly after the Second World War, which makes it interesting because when it was made, that was modern. Now it is not. Now I don't see Paul Fowle there lurking for the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to carry on for. We go to 9 o'clock today. I'm going to carry on for just a few more minutes, and then we may well take a pause and call Paul up because it looks as if the original it didn't work. But I wonder if I can do that now. Let's have a go. Let's forgive me while these things go on. We are here, and we will be back. Well, hopefully it's gone. We've been talking about Boris and what Dominic Cummings has been saying, and I have to say that my view is exactly no, it's not. I just think that we've got a hell of a lot of reform. Well, we're full of tricks. We're full of tricks. That's our news thing, and it's the last thing that anybody expects for a news thing. But what we're going to do now is we're going to take a moment, and I'm going to actually deal with an issue. There are lots of issues locally, but I'm right in the middle of one. If you sort of think of being living the dream and living the nightmare is like well, what I'm seeing and what you're seeing are two different things, because I actually have got a monitor on here and it's coming out to you okay. Internally, we're having real problems because it's freezing and crackling and so on and so forth. But I know that this is going on, so going out. We shall manfully keep going. I am homeless at the moment, and the reason that in that little sting, that little set of video clips, I appear is because I am homeless. And now, okay, I'm not sleeping on the streets, and I wasn't sleeping on the streets, but because of a set of circumstances which could hit anybody, a lot of us who are fat and sassy, if you like, last week, are going to find that we are going to be hit if you've got £16,000 worth of savings, you don't get any help at all. So that £16,000 has to last you. But if you want some help from the state, in other words, the district council, and you're under that threshold, then you are supposed to be helped. But don't hold your breath. Let me just go, first of all, just let me, I've got a warning. Whether, as I say, Paul Fowle will actually join me in that warning, I have no idea. And I don't know that he's even watching at the moment. He's probably struggling to get through because he still hasn't appeared on the screen. So we'll do something about that in a minute or two. But the fact is that 400,000 people have lost their jobs because of the greedy equity investors. The furlough is coming to an end. And the reports coming in are from a lot of people who say furlough ends and they lose their jobs because no longer is their employer getting help from the state. Boris has said after August, the taps, if not turned off completely, are going to be partly turned off. And has industry, particularly small industry, had time to recover? I don't think so. We haven't had time to recover properly. We've had some little bit of support locally, for which we're grateful, but it is a little bit of support. And in some ways, it was too little too late. But we're one of 3 million companies in the country that didn't or only received that minimal support. And 80% of the British economy is small to medium-sized enterprises. And they're the people that have been ignored by this government. So Dominic Cummings wanted to raise something yesterday. He should have raised that. They got it wrong. They got it wrong in the people that they should have been supporting. What they've done is they've just simply supported jobs. Nothing wrong with that. Please don't misunderstand. I'm not saying that if you have a job that you should have been turfed out of a job or not given them money to help support your families and so on. Of course you should. But the fact is that in many ways, the heart of this country was ignored. And so I think that the economy is going to take quite a slap. It has already, and although we had a brief boom there, we're settling back now, and I think there are going to be a lot of jobs lost. People are not flooding back to the shops. A third of the volume of shops have just not recovered. Shoppers aren't going to the shops. I just said the pubs are almost empty. We are not returning to the old way of doing things. Okay, we're doing things online. But, the big controversy there is that the big online shop operations aren't paying taxes. Well, they're paying some. But they're not paying what they should be doing is if a measure for the rest of us is set by. So where's the money coming from? We're in for a tough time. And I think that people like myself, through no fault of their own, will find themselves homeless. And what happens when you're homeless? Well, frankly, the council is not fit for purpose. It really doesn't know what it's doing. It doesn't know which end is up. Blame the little people who are filling out the forms, who are dealing with you at a surface level? No, it's all got to come from the top. I believe the chief executive's name is Cottrell, and he's got to get a grip. He's got to take a strong, serious look at what they're doing, because his predecessor, a chap called Crawford, was a first-class man and ran a first-class ship. What we've done, and this is thanks to the politicians, so they need to come under examination too, is we are now more or less virtually run from Eastbourne. When you phone, you get Eastbourne. And if you try to say something's happening in Lewis, they don't know what the hell you're talking about. So why should they care about what happens here? But I'll tell you what happened to this homeless, right? Reluctantly, I was persuaded by friends and so on to throw myself on the mercy of the state, as it were. So I was phoned and I was told, go to this, I was going to say a safe house, because I was in Northern Ireland and for a while ran a safe house for the British Army. And so it's an emergency house, I think they call it. Nothing wrong with it. This is a small house. It's got 4 or 5 flats in it, all for people in difficult circumstances. But it's very, very small, and there are lots of things that it is lacking. It is not exactly the Hilton. But I have Parkinson's. One of the problems with Parkinson's is the controlling the movement of your legs. I'm not supposed to climb as many stairs if I don't have to. So the first thing is they immediately put me in a house where I've got 12 to 14 stairs to climb. And then from the bedroom to the bathroom is another 4 stairs, and then back again. So that was a great choice, a great choice. The thing that really has upset me, I suppose, most is that the cost of the facility is £30 a night, plus £30 for a week for facilities, for service charges, plus VAT. Now that brings up the total of the room per night to about £34 to £35. I could stay in the private enterprise. I keep wanting to say Fountain Inn, Premier Inn in Lewis for £35. And what do I get? I get clean towels. No clean towels in the issue, provide your own. I get loo paper. No loo paper in this place, you provide your own. I get soap. No soap here, you provide your own. I get towels. I get somebody who will come and make the bed in the morning. Okay, bit of luxury, but nonetheless, I get somebody who empties the waste paper baskets. I don't get any of that in this place that I'm staying in. And also, of course, what I do is I get a television. Oh, television? No, not a bit of it. Now, the bloke who runs it and his mother are not bad people, don't misunderstand. They do a very good job under given circumstances, but it's the council that I'm having a go at. How can they possibly spend our money? Oh, wait a minute. I'll save the best until last. How can they get our money, your money, to pay for this when in fact they could get better benefit by putting people into the local hotel and helping the economy? How do they justify paying over the odds for a place like this? It is beyond belief. Absolutely beyond belief. And what I'm saying is, I'm a journalist and I had never experienced anything like this. So when I was pontificating about homeless, like most people pontificating about homeless, they haven't a clue. Don't know what's going on. They have no idea whatsoever because it's a bunch of pen pushers. I've filled in more forms and given more information and given more bank accounts to prove that I'm not a millionaire. And then I find that what I'm going to get is, thank you very much, emergency housing. But actually, the cost that we pay is what you have to reimburse the difference between us and what we give you in a housing allowance. The housing allowance leaves you a third short. So thank you very much. You're homeless. We're going to toss you into a place you have no choice over. And when you're there, it's awful. And then when we actually come around to it, the first thing we do is we send you a bill for having the privilege. Now, I am not joking. As Little John would say, you cannot make it up. And Mr. Cottrell, you cannot make it up. These are the things that are happening, the nonsenses, while you actually take your $250,000 or whatever it is that we pay you home at night. And there has got some rethinking to be done. I don't know whether you're a good chief executive or a bad chief executive. That's not my point. The point is that there are things that are wrong and nobody's looking at them. And if they don't look at them, they will not be put right. And that's the way we're treating the homeless. All right, I'm a mouthy journalist, right? I'm a burr under the saddle. I'm a thorn in the flesh. I can fight and shout back. And believe me, I have been brought to my very limits. There was one moment in this whole cycle when I thought that for the first time in God knows how long, in fact, since my wife died, I was going to cry. And that's me, the toughie, the thick-skinned guy who's yelling at you right now. What about those poor people? And I'm not talking about those people that sleep in shop doorways. There are lots and lots and lots of ordinary, normal people who are homeless. And they have to go through this sort of thing? Get your act together. Okay, Boris has been accused of not knowing how to run a ship. I'm not accusing you of whether you know how to run the ship or not. I have no idea. All I can tell you is it has got flaws and reform is needed. And you better start to take a look. I'm going to go back to this place tonight. and I'm going to hate every minute of it. And when I get there, I will be lucky, because with Parkinson's, there are two things that can kill you. One is pneumonia, and the other is falling down and breaking a bone. Well, I come close to both. I was out in the rain trying to get from the train station to this place. I didn't catch pneumonia, thank God. And I've fallen twice. Luckily, I know how to fall. And I haven't broken a bone, but that doesn't mean to say I won't. So, have I got a death sentence hanging over me? Oh, is this all dramatic? Yeah, it is. But it's got to be said. And we've got to start looking at how you and your staff serve our community, and how the community looks at it. Because actually what we are is, and I was up until just a couple of weeks ago, exactly the same, very self-satisfied. Oh, I could say all sorts of things and give all sorts of money to charities and things about the plight of the homeless. Well, I will tell you now, I had no idea what the plight of the homeless was. And I really, really feel very, very sorry for those people who undoubtedly will face, perhaps, if not an eternity, a long while before they can struggle back onto the straight and narrow, because we are in for a bad time, and a lot of people who have never experienced it. And if we as a community are willing to just nod and be middle class morality, as George Bernard Shaw would have said, middle class morality, then we don't deserve to have the vote. We don't. As Forrest Gump would say, that's all I've got to say about that. So, there we go. I can't see Paul there. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to say a toodle pip for a moment. and I'm going to try and get hold of him, because it's important that we have Paul on this morning. The 20 minutes of the program left. So let me just play you out a little bit with, let's see what we've got. Yeah, we've got a little one here, I think, that will do nicely.